President Buhari in Lome for joint security summit between ECOWAS and the Economic Community of Central African States.
Federal government set to release improved cotton seeds for textile development.
Efficient disaster management, NEMA to engage state governments.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we'll discuss the ejection of Nigerian traders in Ghana, plus Mali and Zimbabwe presidential elections.
Now, a few days ago, the Ghanaian Ministry of Trade and Investment Industry issued an eviction order directing foreign traders to leave its shores, and that is the shores of Ghana, by the 27th of July 2018. And of course, that ultimatum ended just a few days ago. That's 3 days ago, precisely.
That's right, Rhoda. Now, we also understand that the Ghanaian Trade and Industry Minister, that is Dr. Eko Spio Gabra, is in consultation with his counterpart, the Attorney General of the country, on modalities for the implementation of the eviction order issued to all non-Ghanaian traders.
Well, the truth now is that since 3 days has ended, the ultimatum has actually ended, Kingsley.
That's right.
The Ghanaian authorities are not even willing to go back on its planned expulsion of foreigners from its local markets in the country.
And reports also indicate that Nigerians constitute a significant number of non-Ghanaian traders who ply their trade in an area known as the Tiptoe Lane in Accra metropolis. And a number of these non-Ghanaian traders, most of whom are Nigerians, as I indicated, are the big tycoons. They are either the importers or wholesalers, and then also retailers.
And if you may recall also, too, this was an incident that also happened in 2014, and not forgetting that the 1969 issue is still in mind.
That's right. But one question to ask is, what has prompted the latest eviction order? Does the order, as it were, violate any of the items or articles in the ECOWAS protocol on trade relations amongst ECOWAS member countries? Or are the non-Ghanaian traders a threat, as it were, to either the security or economic well-being of Ghana? A number of questions, of course, we shall be looking at later on in our conversation segment.
Of course, Kingsley, you're right. Those are some of the issues we shall be interrogating today to know what the reason actually is, behind this eviction order, especially for Nigerians and, of course, foreign traders that are in the country doing business.
That's right. There's no doubt about that. It's as I said, one of the issues we shall be taking a look at. Yesterday, Malians went to the polls to elect a new president, and today, Zimbabweans are also going to the polls. Today is Monday, the 30th of July. It's the first time since the independence of that country in 1980 that presidential elections will be taking place, and one name will not be on that ballot, and that name is former President Robert Mugabe. Well, the election is a two-horse race, it is said, between the ruling ZANU-PF, which has been in power since 1980, by the way, and the MDC, that's the Movement for Democratic Change. The incumbent president who took over after Robert Mugabe was quietly but firmly eased into retirement last year is Emerson Mnangagwa. He's 75 years old, and his challenger is 40 years. That's Chimasa. Of course, he represents the MDC, the former leader of the MDC, having passed away last year.
All right, those are some of the issues we'll be looking at this morning on the program, and it's on that note we welcome you to another beautiful edition of Good Morning Nigeria. We are live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are Africa's largest television network, and of course we're reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. It's a wet morning here in the nation's capital. Since yesterday night, it's really been wet.
Well, not so heavy. Yes,
yeah,
it was a drizzle in some parts, perhaps in some other locations around the Federal Capital Territory. It might have rained cats and dogs. But around us here, we are in Area 11. That's right at the heart of the Abuja city. It isn't so wet, so it's tolerable, I believe. My name is Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Rhoda and also welcome you to the program, in the course of which we shall have our regular companion segments, and these include business, newspaper review, sports, foreign, and others. In the meantime, we have in the news, and our colleague Stella Inameti has the highlights of the morning news. Hi, Stella.
Hello, Kingsley and Rhoda. Good morning and welcome to the news. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Lome, the Republic of Togo, ahead of the joint security summit between ECOWAS and the Economic Community of Central African States. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president, accompanied by the governors of Niger and Cross River states, were received on arrival at the Nasingbe Eyadema International Airport, Lome, by the Togolese leader, Fureni Sangbe. Also at the airport were Nigeria's ambassador to Togo, E.G. Joseph, ministers of foreign affairs, interior, defense, trade and investment, the national security advisor, the defense staff, and other senior government officials. At the ECOWAS-ECAS summit on Monday, President Buhari and the participating African leaders are expected to deliberate on common security threats in the two sub-regions with a view to forging concerted strategies in tackling the menace of terrorism, trans-border crimes and other forms of violent extremism. The president will thereafter join other leaders at the 53rd Ordinary Session of ECOWAS to be dominated by political and security situations in some member countries, institutional reforms, illegal migration, and the violent clashes between farmers and herders. The Nigerian delegation will also participate in a meeting on a single currency for ECOWAS. Being the largest economy in Africa, Nigeria's leadership role is central in the sub-regional aspiration. Meanwhile, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, says the communique expected to be signed by ECOWAS and ECAS leaders is now ready. Juliet Aino reports that the ministers took 2 days to amend and fine-tune the draft document for presentation to the meeting of heads of state.
It is about increasing and strengthening the cooperation between the two economic zones in the fight against violent extremism and terrorism. All the various mechanisms that are being put in place, cooperation in the legal field, not confining it to just terrorism, but also drug trafficking, the impact of the environment, and all the other root causes of terrorism and violent extremism in the sub-region.
And back home, the federal government's initiative towards reviving the textile industry has received a boost as new improved varieties of cotton seeds are set to be released to farmers. Experts are of the view that scarcity of cotton contributed largely to the collapse of major textile factories in Nigeria.
Without cotton, sustainable cotton production, then obviously the Guineans, who are the immediate users of the cotton produced by farmers, will not meet their installed capacities, will not be in profit, they will shut down.
The yield is 4.1 to 4.4 tons per hectare, but the conventional cotton only gives you 1 to maybe 1.2 or 1.6 tons per hectare.
The federal government has inaugurated a multi-million naira erosional flood control project in Jumbulum village of Sanyanwa local government area of Kano State. The project, undertaken by the Ecological Fund Office, fixed the main bridge which links the village and the main market.
And keeping faith with President Muhammadu Buhari's pledge that no part of this country will suffer neglect owing to its geographical location or its political inclination or any other reason, because all parts of Nigeria are very dear to the President's heart.
For efficient disaster management, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has resolved to engage state governments through extensive advocacy and sensitization on the need for states to key into disaster risk management as a multi-stakeholder activity. A statement signed by NEMA's head of media and publicity, Sani Dati, said the Director General of the agency, Mustafa Mehajer, disclosed this in Abuja at the end of a retreat for the management staff and heads of its operational offices. The Director General therefore reaffirmed the agency's commitment to improving response time to emergencies. He said efforts are being made to provide more equipment that are not available across the country for disaster management. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has held an All Progressives Congress stakeholders meeting in Iropodun local government area of Kwara State with a view to strengthening the party's presence and hold in the state. A statement by the minister indicates that part of the resolution of the meeting is the immediate dissolution of the Balogun Fulani-led Kwara APC Executive Committee and a fresh Congress be held for party members just coming in at various levels to constitute a new executive. Also, those appointed by deceit and hiding under the facade of being party stalwarts should immediately resign such appointments or be fired. The recent gale of defections, according to the minister, has put the All Progressives Congress in a position of true majority in the National Assembly, as those remaining are truly committed to the party's ideal. All members and supporters of the APC in Kwara State have restated their unflinching support for President Muhammadu Buhari and assured him of a harvest of votes from the state in the 2019 general elections. Lai Mohammed further called on the APC stalwarts, members and supporters to remain calm as there is no cause for alarm. And that's the news this morning. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Kingsley and Rhoda.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem frontally through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped, we are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime, we bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the daring and invincible Louis the Mosquito. Responsible for 200 malaria cases all on its own. Is there anything that can kill Louis? Morphine! Presenting Morti's Power Guard. Its powerful formula kills malaria mosquitoes fast. So, get Morti's Power Guard.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, Ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
The social media era has brought goodies to the society. Telecoms like our own dear indigenous Glow has brought us data to smarten our lives in today's smart world. Oh yes, but are you using the social media wisely? Or are you spreading sensation, half-truths and lies?
Na viral video nami atalam po alani. So if alani I got the spread and for viral message, that one nang asabian, it no concern me.
Viral Videos is the title of this week's episode of Professor John Bull. Join us and laugh like never before.
Come 4 p.m.
4 p.m. is evening, now we're talking about afternoon.
Say who you say is evening.
4 o'clock, evening starts.
I don't know they've changed the time. Oh.
Nobody changed anything. It has been like that since I became a human being.
Over and out.
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network. Glow Unlimited.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria. It's the Monday edition, and we'll join our business news desk for some business news update.
Hello and a warm welcome to Business News. My name is Joy Uzo. Economists in Nigeria say they want policymakers to pursue restructuring with a view to reposition the economy for better growth and sustained development. Speakers at an event in Abuja on political restructuring in Nigeria through federalism and the implication for economic development say the federating units can be more viable economically if given the powers constitutionally.
We have to draw the attention of particularly our parliamentarians who are representing us to say, look, you people should make good laws to bring state back to their rightful position of taking decisions economically that will benefit the state.
While other speakers believe Nigeria has got a lot of innate intellectual potential to add value to the federal government's diversification initiative, which they say will be achievable if there is an holistic restructuring of the nation's educational system. Others call for attitudinal change from all Nigerians.
These materials we're talking about, oil, are exhaustible materials, but man's intellectual capacity cannot be exhausted. India exports doctors. India exports, tech engineers. That's intellectual property. Government should create the opportunity for Nigerians who have the potential intellectually to express themselves and to impact the world.
If we want to restructure, it's attitudinal restructuring. The situation where people take government property as their personal property is wrong.
Managing Director of Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, Ahmed Nangiwa, says the bank is coming up with a new policy targeted at providing affordable houses for low-income Nigerians.
We are collaborating with the Nigerian Labour Congress, TUC, and the NECA, whereby we are approaching state governors. We have approached at least 12 state governors. They have given us land and free. Then we will build the estate. We are also pursuing them to see if they can do the infrastructure so that the cost of the land and infrastructure will be reduced, will be removed. When they do that, you will find that the cost of the houses will be cut by 50%.
Meanwhile, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN, has presented an accountability index to representatives of federal, states, and local government authorities in Nigeria. The ICANN president, Mr. Razak Jayola, who made the presentation at the last Federation Account Allocation Committee, FAC, told members that the Accountability Index is an initiative of the Institute to ensure prudent management of public funds by the 3 tiers of government.
It will address a lot of things that will bring our nation forward.
I'm proud that this initiative is being unfolded given the criticality of transparency in the fight against corruption.
Mr. Jayola said the initiative will improve quality of governance in the country and tackle corruption in the public sector. That's business news. Many thanks for watching. I am Joy Uzo.
Thank you very much, Joy, there for the business package. Next for us now, we reveal the headlines on the front pages of some of today's newspapers.
Dan is here with us again this morning to help us take a more in-depth look into some of the stories that are trending on today's dailies. Omini, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning,
Hope you had a great weekend.
Kinsley. Good morning, Nigeria.
I hope your weekend was
lovely.
Trust.
Did you sneak out of town?
I didn't. Are you sure you didn't?
I did not.
All right, we have a couple of papers here with us this morning, and I'll begin with the New Telegraph. The New Telegraph has a lot of stories on its front page this morning. Very busy one for the New Telegraph, but I'll just take some key stories. And I'll begin with the lead story. It says, "My victory in 2019 will be landslide. My victory in 2019 will be landslide," says Buhari. Says Saraki Kwankwaso Tambo, autumn can't stop him. President describes PDP as noisy neighbors. Keamu, defections won't impact on Buhari's chances. Senate President, Minister fight over APC structure. Those are stories trending. That's the lead story, and of course, riders there to that lead story. It's on page 2 of the New Telegraph. Let's quickly go to The Guardian. Let's see what's leading on The Guardian this morning. On The Guardian, it leads to its Nigeria gets fresh prospects in ECOWAS international trade. Nigeria gets fresh prospects in ECOWAS international trade, with some riders here. New $4.5 billion semi border to push up 76% business quota. Product certification to boost competitiveness. And experts task government on industrial zones in nation's local government areas. That's the lead story for The Guardian. Kingsley, what do you have?
That's right. I have both the Nigerian Tribune and the Punch newspaper. The lead story for the Nigerian Tribune has to do with a response to the insecurity in the northwest of the country. Killings, that's the kicker. Buhari sends 1,000 combined forces to Zamfara. Details on page 2. But the writer says the Nigerian Air Force has begun the deployment of fighter aircraft in Katsina Airport, which has the closest proximity to Zamfara State, to make for immediate and effective response to the menace of the bandits. Now, when you take a look at the front page of the Punch, that story is also there, but you also have photographs illustrating the situation in Zamfara. They see to have 2 photographs on the front page of the Punch there, and the caption is, "Internally displaced persons leaving their villages after bandits attacked Zurmi, local government area of Zamfara." And this was on Sunday, that's just yesterday. With the with the headline, and coming with a kicker, insecurity, President sends 1,000 troops to Zamfara. Details of that story can be found on page 14. There are also political stories. Second lead story on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. Below the main photograph there, it says, despite defections, Buhari will win with landslide, campaign organization says. And a number of writers there. PDP reacts. Calculations dubious, limited to 2011 and 2015, and chose to ignore 2007 defeat by Yar'Adua. Kwara APC chairman and Lai Mohammed trade words over call for dissolution of EXCO. Autumn to Shomole, am I the one killing in Plateau, Adamawa, and Zamfara? And Buhari wanted nothing to do with Tinubu. That's according to Galadima. Details on pages 2 and 3. That story on President Buhari is also the lead for the Punch newspaper, and it's attributed to the chairman of the RAPC. It says Buhari didn't want alliance with Tinubu in 2013. A number of other stories will come to them after Olumide has discussed these ones we've just read out.
Yes, before I go to the 1,000 strong force set up by the federal government to tackle bandits in Zanzibar, let's talk about the political stories. Remember the other day I said there's a very strong similarity between 2014 into 2015 and 2018 to 2019. And if you're a very good student of literature, after a major title you have subtitles. after the big episode of defections, all this, you start hearing also. But the good thing is that 2014 and 2018, 2014, the statement was so inflammatory, sensational, but this time they have toned them down to figures, who win, you will not win. In 2014, you heard, if we don't win, we will strike. If we don't win, we will kill. I think there's some modicum of modification in that. So we expect to see versions upon versions until maybe after elections. So we're about to see all these permutations, projections. I'll win, I will not win, you will sack me, I will not sack you. But tied to the editorial of Friday, I think it's an opportunity for the average Nigerian public to be very, very careful the information they pick. But they should take information with a pinch of salt, but depend more on the conventional media houses, because a lot of this is tied to the spread of fake news as against real news. Quickly, in an effort to stem the tide of banditry in villages and towns in Zamfara State, the president has approved the deployment of 1,000, they call it strong force, comprising the army, air force, the police, civil defense, to launch fierce attack on the bandits. And the chief of air staff has already visited Katsina State. It's supposed to be the launch base for the this military onslaught on banditry. And I think banditry, yeah. Katsina is the closest state to Zamfara State, so the base of the air force will be in Katsina State, and the chief of air staff has already visited and had a talk with the deputy governor of Katsina State, and apparently on why they want to use Katsina State as a base for that. But I think from the statement issued by presidential media assistant Garba Shehu, it's a move to let Nigeria know what the federal government is doing to stem this trend.
All right, Obede, thanks a lot. Almost invariably, the theater of operation will have to expand to Sokoto, because there have also been reports of bandit activities.
But the prevalence is so high.
In
Zamfara, it's lingered
even on the
for several
program,
months. That's right. We've discussed
the issue of
Zamfara banditry, which is, of course, and Kaduna is also affected.
I was even expecting to see maybe part of the operational plan should be the involvement of the locals, because they know the nooks and crannies of the places these people use and launches attacks.
Yeah, those are operational modalities. That's right. Let's return to the Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune, immediately below the nameplate of the paper, says 121 Nigerians murdered in South Africa in 18 months. That's attributed to Falana, and proffers what the federal government should do to end killings. Details on page 10. On page 8, in greater detail, is a headline that's promoting the story. It says, federal government recalls 2.4 million bottles of codeine cough syrup. And then, of course, you also come down to the first column where you also have a number of headlines there. Let's just take two of them. Osun 2018, PDP and aspirants hold peace parley in Abuja today, and pension fund assets hit 8.1 trillion naira. Hold on.
All right, on The Guardian, let's just take some side stories there. Just beside the picture story, there's some headlines there. It says, fire chase deal with Ekiti workers falter on PDP's election loss. And NCDC confirms 6 new Lassa fever cases, 3 deaths in Edo and Ondo. It's on page 8. She said, new rule restricts MDs from succeeding board chairman. And just above The Guardian, you see there's a story that says, Dogara set to dump APC, join PDP. That's a story just above the nameplate on The Guardian. And on the New Telegraph, there you'd see some stories just above the name, just below the nameplates, before the lead story, the lead headline there. It says, soldiers kill 16 Boko Haram terrorists, recover gun trucks. That's on page 8. And Serap drags Senate to UN over Press Council B. And the story you read earlier, pension asset hits 8.14 trillion naira. PFAs invest 2.5 trillion naira in federal government bond. Let's go to the bottom of the New Telegraph, just at the foot of the paper there. It says 4 policemen to die by hanging for murder. That's a story that's below at the foot of the paper there on the New Telegraph. Zamfara youths attack police station. That's a writer to the story. It's a youths beat up DPO in Ondo. All right, Kingsley, is the story you want to tell?
Yeah, very quickly from the Punch newspaper, and then we'll come. The Punch is busy with a number of headlines as well. Above the nameplate, the story on the recall of the 2.4 million bottles of codeine syrup is also there. Then 2019, that's the election. INEC budgets 1.8 billion naira for possible presidential runoff. Alleged forgery. Reps panel wants Buhari's aide prosecuted. That's on page 10. And federal government overpays 196 billion naira as personnel costs to 450 MDAs. That's on page 35 in greater detail. 2 earpieces there beside the nameplate. Dasuki's family petitions NBA and CJN and wants Malami, that's the Attorney General of the Federation, sanctioned. That's on page 14. On page 7, in greater detail, is the story headline, My Dad's Autopsy Inconclusive, says MKO Abiola's daughter. So those are the headlines we're taking. Very quickly.
We should take a close look at the editorial on the Pilot newspaper today. It tallies very much with
well, the editorial from the Nigerian
yes.
Pilot is on page 3, and it's on state governors as chief security officers and matters arising.
Beautiful. You know, there have been so much talk about restructuring, constitutional order, the powers of the governors. Given the security situation in the country today, it really calls for a rethink and a review of what it should be, so that the governors should really have the powers to move as chief security officers of their state. But it has to go through a constitutional review.
All right, thank you very much, many of them, for your insights into the stories trending on the dailies, the lead stories trending on the dailies this morning. It's always a pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you so much.
I hope we will see you again tomorrow morning.
Always, as always.
All right, we'll take a short break now, and when we come back, our first item for discussion this morning is the eviction of foreign traders from Ghana. We have guests in the studio to speak extensively to this issue. And of course, we're also looking at the course of the program, the Malian election, Zimbabwe election, also on the program. Let's take this break. When we come back, we have more.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
Under no conditions whatsoever should we tolerate or excuse or justify hate speech or hateful conduct of any kind, especially where such is illegal.
There's no doubt that the resurgent push for separatism, as well as the rising cases of ethnic and religious disharmony, are all traceable to the growing phenomenon of hate speech.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Whenever pain occurs, you want quick relief. Try new Nurofen Express. It goes to the source of pain and gets to work in under 15 minutes. That's why Nurofen Express delivers fast and effective relief. New Nurofen Express works at the source of pain. Fast.
Being a mom is great, but when your child has a fever, you don't know what to do. I trust Nurofen for Children to take care of my child's pain and fever.
Effective relief you can trust.
Fake news which is shared for malicious purposes is a danger to our peace and security in Nigeria. Misinformation as fake news is a serious threat to our hard-earned democracy and promotes hatred and misunderstanding between our communities. We are all responsible for stopping the spread of fake news in its tracks. So, always check the source and credibility of any news item. Say no to fake news. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information.
brought us as usual.
As usual.
Mm.
You have no problem.
For the three
You are welcome, sir.
as usual, yeah?
Welcome, sir. Hey, you take that one. Yes. Take that one. You don't understand? We want Nigerian homegrown rice. Finish. You don't have? You don't have?
Join the rice revolution today.
No other rice that tastes like Nigerian rice. Are you sorry? That's the Nigerian rice we are talking about. Chocolate made in Nigerian rice. Healthy food. I'm going to bring Mrs. Momo to come to chocolate rice of made in Nigeria here. And see how it are made.
Correct.
And how they are cook it.
Correct.
Homegrown rice are good for your health. It boosts our economy and give employment to our people.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, you are welcome back, and it's still Good Morning Nigeria on the NTA. To our first item for discussion this morning, we'll kickstart with this background report put together by Mitaire Ikmeng on the eviction of foreign traders in Ghana.
Recently, the Ghanaian Ministry of Trade and Industry issued an eviction order directing all foreign traders to vacate Ghana by 27th July 2018. According to the notice of eviction dated 19th March 2018, the Ghanaian Ministry referred to Section 27 of the Ghana Investment Promotion Council Act 865 of 2013, which stipulates that a person who is not a citizen or an enterprise which is not wholly owned by a Ghanaian citizen shall not invest or participate in the sales of goods or provision of services in a market, or involve in petty trading or hawking or selling of goods in a stall at any place. This force majeure constitutes a major setback for Nigerian traders who make up the bulk of foreigners trading in the West African country, more so given that Nigeria and Ghana are neighbors that share common historical, political, and economic ties. Both countries are equally signatories to the ECOWAS Protocol on Free Movement of Persons aimed at promoting trade relations across the West African sub-region. These reasons and other historical ties make many wonder if there is more to the eviction order on foreign traders by the Ghanaian authority than meets the eye, because there have been consistent and repeated threats to Nigerian businesses in Ghana over the decades. It will be recalled that Ghana had similarly evicted foreign traders, mostly Nigerians, from its local markets at various times in 2012 and 2014. Earlier in history too, precisely in 1969, Ghana asked the Nigerian community resident in that country to quit. The latest eviction order definitely has far-reaching implications for more than 6 million population of Nigerians in Ghana, going beyond the severance of trade relations to even family ties, not to mention possible loss of property. As the fate of many affected Nigerian traders in Ghana hangs in the balance, they anticipate that the Nigerian government could employ diplomacy to compel Ghana to rescind the eviction order. Could it be that the xenophobic tendencies exhibited by South Africa against Nigerians are coming closer home to manifestation in the West African sub-region? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will give their perspectives and the way forward.
All right, here with us in the studios to discuss this issue in greater detail, would like to welcome Chukwuemeka Levi Nnanji. He is President, Nigerian Union of Traders Association in Ghana, NOTAG. Yeah, he came in from Accra this morning to join us, yesterday of course, to join us for this conversation. Mr. Nnanji, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
Also here with us in the studios is the President of the National Association of Nigerian Traders. It's a regular face on Good Morning Nigeria now whenever we're discussing trade issues. Mr. Ken Okoha. Ken Okoha, pleasure to have you again on Good Morning
Thank
Nigeria.
you, Kingsley, and thank you, Nigerians.
Thank you.
And also in the studio here with us, we have Dr. Tony Luka Elumelu. He is the Principal Program Officer, ECOWAS Head of the Division Protocol on Free Movement. Dr. Tony Luka Elumelu, you're welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me.
All right, gentlemen, let's begin this discussion with Chukwuemeka Levi Nnanji, who's the president of the Nigerian Union of Traders Association in Ghana. You were giving an eviction notice and it has elapsed since Friday. That's the 27th of July.
That's correct.
What is happening right now? What is the situation of things as it stands right now in Ghana for Nigerian traders and also foreign traders?
Okay. We received another order that they have suspended their action. And after that order was given, or they roll out the information, the Ghana Union of Traders started demonstrating. As I'm talking to you now, there's a possibly demonstration going on today. On Friday, we witnessed so many of them take over the premises of where we call Seco, where our Nigerian brothers are trading on mobile phones. And they are agitating that government must carry out the order to evacuate the whole Nigerians. Because the target is on Nigeria. They are talking about foreign traders, but then it's Nigeria they are targeting.
Well, what's the percentage of foreign traders and Nigerian traders? What's the percent overall of 100? Nigerian traders constitute what percentage?
Yeah, we don't have any statistical study about that, but then you understand that this is West Africa. You expect Nigerian to be more than every other national like Chinese, Indians, or Lebanese that they are contending with. Yeah.
What is the rationale for the order?
The order is that we should move out of the market. We should provide $1 million as a trade capital. That we should not, we must employ 20 Ghanaian skilled workers minimum. And that is what we find to be very difficult at achieving. If I have $1 million, I wouldn't go anywhere. I would stay in my country and do my trade. And this law was changed just in 2013. It used to be $300,000. But just because they targeted Nigerians, they moved it to $1 million. Of course, $1 million is a lot of money. And this, out of this $1 million, they expect you to pay 0.5% to the Registrar General, which is $5,000. And GIPC, that's Ghana Investment Promotional Council, are at 0.5% again, which is under $5,000. Plus minus, we are spending $11,000 to register trading business in Ghana. And that is our problem.
No, let's understand this again for the benefit of our viewers. You've just talked about requirements for being a trader in Ghana. You can also explain the volume of business that an individual does that will be required to have, a capital base of $1 million. But what has instigated this latest eviction order? Why are they insisting that foreigners should leave? Is it that, yes, what is responsible for the order?
Yeah, I think they said they want to go by their law. That is what they said. They want to go by their local law, irrespective of whatever position ECOWAS is having. They want to go by their local law. I asked the Deputy Minister, what of ECOWAS protocol? And he told me he cares not about that he wants to apply his local law. And that is what he said.
Now, if a trader meets the capital requirement of $1 million, would the trader also face eviction?
Then it depends, because one, the location is also a factor here. He said he should move out of market. A few years ago, the Minister of Trade then told us that the marketplace is where 2 or 3 Ghanaians are having shops. So in totality, what we are saying is that we shouldn't have any place like a shop to sell whatever thing, whether you actually meet the 1 million requirement or not. You should not open any place to sell. That is the whole thing.
Is this a Ghana-wide order or specific to Accra?
The order will take over the whole country.
This is serious.
So, well, Ken Okoha, you were discussing trade issues, and you, of course, represent Nigerian traders. What do you know about what's unfolding in Ghana?
Thank you very much, Kingsley. I think it would be nice for me to lay a foundation to this particular matter. In 1994, specifically, the Ghanaian Investment Promotion Council came up with a law and it's an act of the parliament. And that's GIPC Act 478 of 1994. And it prescribed that if you are a non-Ghanaian citizen, you must have a share capital of not less than, and that's minimum, not less than 300,000 US dollars. And you must register your business as well as not be found within the marketplace. And if the law prescribes that you will not be found within the marketplace, it means, and it's even in the interpretation side, that law says that the marketplace means where 3 or more Ghanaians are doing business. That's a marketplace. It means you are not permitted within the precincts. And then in 2007, courtesy of this particular law, 5,000 shops belonging to Nigerians were locked up. And we went to Ghana, we intervened, and we called on the authorities and said, look, you are flouting ECOWAS laws. And you willingly signed on to these laws. The Protocol on Free Movement has 3 segments. The movement of persons, goods, and services, and even capital, as reviewed on the 1993 protocol. And then it also has an angle of the right of residence, which you are flouting. The third leg of it is the right of establishment. And it is the Ghanaian authority that signed on to this willingly. In 2008, we wrote to the ECOWAS Parliament
Who are the winners?
to intervene. That's NANS. Okay. Because NUTAG, the Nigerian Union of Traders in Ghana, is a member of NANS. Is in diaspora we have membership cut across many countries. In 2008, we wrote to the Parliament. We wrote to the Federal Minister of Trade and Industry, then here in Nigeria. In 2009, the ministry in March 3rd, specifically, called for a meeting, and we sat down, and the president then, that we copied that letter to, sent a high-power delegation, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Minister of Trade, myself, the then High Commissioner, Nigerian High Commissioner, to Ghana. We all went and sat down with authorities. We visited them. Why are you doing this to your brothers? Well, diplomatically, things were, were sorted out. And then we thought it was over. Again, in 2012, the next thing that happened was that police started closing the shops of Nigerians. And that's in 2012. We wrote back to the president then. And the president made a call and said that the shops will be opened. The shops were opened. But what we later saw was that later in that same year, many of those shops were closed outside Accra. We went back to the ECOWAS Commission. The president then now directed that the task force, which I'm happy Mr. Lumelu belonged to, a task force that was set up, the task force on free movement, went there. And then the ECOWAS Parliament also called my attention, and I went there. We had a meeting, and the Parliamentary Committee on Trade went to Accra. They went to meet with the authorities, lambasted them, and told them that this act is in conflict with ECOWAS laws. You cannot operate this. Eventually, they opened those shops, and we kept working. And this has been, I'm just laying this foundation for you to understand that this has been a perennial problem. The ill-treatment, harassment of Nigerian traders who are there. And with statistics, you just talked about statistics. We have nothing less than 8 million Nigerians who are in Ghana trading, doing legitimate business. If anyone is doing illegitimate business, unlawful business, the laws are there to penalize such. But these are people who are doing legitimate business. But you come up one day to say, look, this is a law that will grab the people. You know, our fears is that xenophobic attacks are imminent.
All right, sorry, Ken Okohouse, thank you very much. Let's pause you in the meantime, and I'll bring in Tony Elumelu. This is not the one, Tony with the money, this is the one with ECOWAS. As my colleague earlier introduced. Dr. Luka, Tony Luka Elumelu is in charge of the Department or Division of ECOWAS with responsibility for free movement and migration. Give us your take on this. You seem to have some insider knowledge as to what had gone on historically.
Thank you very much. It's quite unfortunate that at this level, when we are transiting to continental free movement, we are having this problem. ECOWAS has been adjudged as the best example. If you look at the continental text, most of them drew aspiration from the ECOWAS free movement text. And if you look at the Article 2 of ECOWAS in the aims and objective of the community, is to foster integration through cooperation in various fields, economic, trade, transport. And also it was also re-emphasized through relevant texts, like the free movement text of 1979, which also has three core axes of intervention: the right of entry, residence, and establishment. And we finished with all these phases because it was envisioned to drive through a 15-year with each 5 years phase. At this level, we shouldn't be talking about discrimination. If you look at the guiding word in terms of the right of establishment, is the principle of non-discrimination. And I believe it is not only Ghana, some member states practice selective implementation. However, from the ECOWAS Commission, the president directed, I'm sure, like Ken, I don't want to go back to that. There have been attempts to have a peaceful resolution in terms of managing this conflict when they arise. The text also put in place modalities for addressing issues when there's conflict by parties, which means that the president of the commission should also get involved, the chair of the authority should be involved. So the procedures and processes. But in this present impasse, we were able to inform the president of the commission, who has also constituted a three-man delegation to go to Ghana to have to bring succor to the affected party. However, I say that we should not quickly judge in terms of who is to blame. However, we want us to take it easy, calm nerves, and also with the report of the mission. Part of the intervention was why the suspension order was given for the state of action in terms of execution. And as I speak, we're not resting on our rules from ECOWAS on ours. We are making an effort to make sure that there's a permanent stop and total compliance in terms of our tests. But as for the right of establishment, it is the right of member states. And one thing again we should bring to bear here is that ECOWAS citizens are not regarded as foreigners. The text, the community text, refer them and is enshrined in our legal instrument that they are community citizens and not foreigners. And when a text is saying foreigners, it does not include ECOWAS citizens, and Nigeria is a critical player in terms of free movement protocol.
All right, thank you very, very much, Tony Luka Elumelu. Let's get back now to Chukwemeka Leva Naji. Ken Okwa was saying something, because what we're talking about now, we're talking about Nigerians who are doing legitimate businesses, whose businesses have been registered in Ghana. From your own perspective, you've been there for a while. Do these traders pose any form of security threat?
No, we do not. We register our business, we are doing it, and we're not competing with anybody. We are just going our day by day businesses. There's no kind of threat we possess. Because I have said it once and here again that traders are peaceful people. We move up in the morning to our shops and go back to our homes in the evening. So where will we possess trade? We are people doing something. We are not illegal immigrants without any businesses. So we always try to attend to our customers. And that is what makes us busy. And anybody who is busy is almost trouble-free. And I have said it in many occasions that if there's anybody who is troubling, anybody is not the traders, because we are busy all the time.
The eviction order, which you say has been suspended, did it also affect, or was it also going to apply to, say, Asians and people from the Middle East, say Lebanon, who are also traders in Ghana?
Yes, that's why I'm surprised. Because it was after the Nigeria High Commissioner to Ghana gave a television interview that the suspension came, which means it's actually targeted to Nigerians. Of course, it will include everybody if there is any other person they are targeting. But I think the main target is Nigerians.
Well, back again to Dr. Luka Elumelu. How does one understand this recurrent threat of eviction, against Nigerians or perhaps, other ECOWAS citizens who are traders in Ghana?
It's worrisome, and it's quite unfortunate in terms of the commitment of the entire region. Like I said, there are other aspects that if you look at in terms of implementation, you have selective implementation. We also need to appraise it and look at the status of implementation, and also look at possible sanctions on member states that are not complying. But however, like I mentioned, we also need to meet with the Ghana authority. We've done that 2 or 3 times, before it started. But like I mentioned before, the test also states the modalities for resolution of conflict when they come. Right to the chair for the authority, the Nigerian government, who is now bringing the complaint, right to the chair. The chair will also delegate the president of the commission, who will also nominate 3 other member states to look at it. But like you said, there are also complaints about other countries, even against Nigeria or other. So we should also look at this holistically and look at how to ensure compliance. Like I mentioned before, we should look at the concept of citizenship was defined. So you can leverage on that one. Nigerians are not foreigners in any member state. What they are referred to as community citizenship. So if they say foreigners, you are not involved. So take it up and like rights like we are taking it up, like want to emphasize that community citizenship, and we've gone beyond that one, I'm sure you know. We are looking at we've removed the resident permit requirement for member states. So it is no longer tenable. We've also deployed the biometric identity card to enhance the security architecture. So if you're talking about security, we've always been on the opinion that we should not criminalize migration. It is our way of life in the region. What do we do? So leverage on the strength. We have Nigerians now trading in Ghana. We have Ghanaians also working here. Like Mason, you have those who are doing the POP, whatever it's called. But the advantage of the protocol is to encourage skill mobility, talent mobility, so that we can foster development in the region. The most important thing is also it encourages cross-border cooperation so that people are contiguous border. And this is one of the measures in terms of eliminating conflict.
Yeah, I'm just going to ask you, from the ECOWAS perspective, what are possibly the unstated factors often propelling the Ghanaian authorities to these frequent eviction orders?
And I also want you to take along with it the fact that just as Mr. Levi Chukwemeka Levi Naji said now, the authorities are saying we don't know, we don't care about ECOWAS laws. We just want to go by the laws of the land. Why is it difficult to get ECOWAS member countries to obey the laws of ECOWAS?
Okay, I tell you this to show you the political will. If you look at the ECOWAS treaty, was 75. And also, by 79, the flagship protocol came out, and that's this Protocol of Freedom of the Presence. There was a revised treaty in 1993, and Article 59 dedicated that particular article for it's written immigration. And it really emphasized that the member states will also guide jealously the Protocol of Freedom of the Presence. Even, like you just mentioned, ECOWAS is partial severance of sovereignty into a collective basket. So normally the ECOWAS states take precedence in some areas in terms of migration. And we have problems in terms of challenges in terms of implementation. I tell you this, we have at the regional level, we have at national level. I'm sure at times you hear, this country must go. I don't want to mention, another time you hear from another country, this country must go. It is now time for us to look at mechanism to provide sanction. That's why I said that's the sanction, because we don't have serious sanction measure in terms of violation of these rights. But however, there are rights also entrenched in this, basic rights that are associated with workers, even itinerant workers, border workers, traders like you have there. So I think to answer your question, we don't have a very strong sanction regime, but we need to also look at it so that it's a recurring decimal, and we need to stop that. And from the ECOWAS Commission, I believe that with the present leadership we have in them, His Excellency Jean-Claude Brown, we're going to address this, and he has already taken measures by setting up a committee that will look at it and make sure that we don't have this coming up again.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Tony Luka Elumelu. Thank you for your perspective this morning. I'm so happy, Kingston, that he spoke to the issue of sanctions, because everywhere you turn in Nigeria, where they're building constructions, even in the markets, you have a lot of Ghanaians here in Nigeria.
That's right. There's no doubt about that, I'm sure. I mean, Ken Okoha will have the data on that. My colleague, Rhoda, just signed off Dr. Luka Elumelu, who is head of division of ECOWAS, and that's on free movement and migration, as in part of our conversation. But let's return to Ken Okoha, who is president of the National Association of Nigerian Traders. He's a lawyer also, by the way. Ken, I asked the question, what are the unstated factors behind this recurrent eviction orders on Nigerian and perhaps non-Nigerian traders in Ghana? What's going on?
Kisley, I would say number one is that countries have a right to regulate their economies. To the extent that if you see flows of goods or human beings, migration, perhaps overtaking your population, sometimes a country can come up and is allowed, even at the WTO level, to regulate your economy in that direction and to move certain people, certain investments to one sector. These are items, even technical barriers to trade. These are liable. However, and I think this is where the sanction, the penalty comes in. Whatever kind of regulation that you apply must come in consonance with the laws. And this is where we are talking about. And see 2 or 3 paradoxes that I'm going to look at now. Look at paradox number 1. It was the Kwame Nkrumah, the great Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, that set the ball of Pan-Africanism rolling, that had to catch up with his brothers, the great Zigs of Africa. And then this translated into the Lagos Treaty, which resulted in ECOWAS, the formation of ECOWAS in 1975. Now, the same people are the ones now pushing anti-Pan-Africanism. Number 2 is that while Ghanaians are busy chasing out Nigerian traders, Nigerians in Ghana. It is the same Ghanaians that are inviting the West into Ghana by certain agreements. Don't forget, while Nigeria was, trying to get the whole of Africa together, the whole of West Africa together in the EPA negotiations, it was Ghana that went by the side to sign an interim agreement with Europe. Number 3 paradox. Here today we are negotiating the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which brings all Africans together within the concept of trade. Let us trade together for regional integration. Ghana was the first to sign. As we speak, Ghana has also taken the side of being the first country to ratify the agreement. The Ghanaian parliament has ratified the agreement. But it's the same Ghana that is pushing away Africans from Ghana. So how do you reconcile this? So my worry is that it is coming to a point where another South African xenophobia could be playing out. And this is a wrong signal. Because this issue coming up every time, perennially. Despite all diplomatic measures, despite intervention of parliamentarians, the ECOWAS parliament, despite intervention of ECOWAS commission, despite intervention of Nigerian government, and this has continued. And don't forget this also, Kinsley, that in West Africa today, I'm not talking about the whole of Africa, it is Nigeria, wherever there is any problem, it is Nigeria that comes in the spirit of Pan-Africanism to quench the problem. Be it in Cote d'Ivoire, or Liberia, or Sierra Leone, or Gambia, or Mali. We spend our money, we spend the lives of our people. And after that, we are paid with a terrible part of a coin, unspendable part of the coin.
All right, Ken Okoa, thank you very much for some issues that you have raised. Now, the last issue you have raised now, I think that's where I would like our next guest to begin from. We're now being joined. If you just joined us, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. And of course, we're speaking to the issue of eviction of foreign traders, Nigerian traders in Ghana. Though we learned that the eviction order, of course, ended, that was the 27th of July. That was on Friday. But we learned right now that of course, that has been suspended, though there are protests by Ghanaian traders in Ghana. There were protests on Friday, and as we speak today, Monday, there probably are protests going on in Ghana for the eviction of foreign traders from the markets. We're now being joined by Senator Ita Enang, who is the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly. That's the Senate. Senator Ita, thank you very much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure you've been listening to all of the guests who've been speaking to this issue. I'd like to take it from where Ken Okoa stopped. You have Asians, you have Chinese trading in some of these African countries, doing very well. But you find out that countries that have benefited from Nigeria immensely are the ones treating Nigerians this way. Example is South Africa. Here is Ghana again. What is happening?
Well, I think it is the fact that Nigerians are very productive, and I think wherever they dominate the environment. Not dominate in the negative sense. They are very productive, and sometimes this attracts envy against them. So, but I think that on the whole, it is time for Nigeria to renegotiate, to call for the renegotiation of the complete treaty, of the complete ECOWAS treaty, number one. Number two, it is time for Nigeria to think of what it is spending in hosting ECOWAS Commission, ECOWAS Parliament, and all the ECOWAS institutions. Number three, it is time for Nigeria to reconsider what are the gains of the regional body to Nigeria, and to what extent is Nigeria benefiting from this, and to what extent are Nigerians suffering from it, considering what we are spending. And could we not invest what we are investing in ECOWAS in Nigeria and still have a better outcome, and still have better outcomes for Nigerians. I think perhaps it may have been a situation like this that caused Britain to look for a renegotiation of the union with the European Union, what you now call Brexit, that is Britain exits and so on. I think it is time for Nigeria. And I do not really get comfortable with the fact that the Ghanaian government says, look, they are suspending that order. Suspending that order means that they have accepted it, but we are suspending it. And I think the suspension is simply because ECOWAS is meeting and Ghana is bidding for their seat as to be the next president or chairman of ECOWAS. And it is all, and when they get it, they will just get them in. They will get at Nigerians. Most of the things that are happening on the ECOWAS matter, Nigerians are not the beneficiaries. We are like, quote unquote, I want to apologize, we are like the victims. Because look at the free movement, the free movement of goods and persons, the immigration policy. We are suffering from security breaches, security threats, and terrorism, and other acts because of free movement of ECOWAS citizens. Look at the passport. The Nigerian passport is being treated, passport and visa is being treated with a lot of disdain by other countries outside West Africa. Not just because it's a Nigerian passport, but because it is ECOWAS passport. Because we, behaving as big brothers, did say, okay, just like a few other countries, let us make our passport to be ECOWAS passport. I think we have to renegotiate this because the basic principle of diplomacy is citizen-centered diplomacy. And the basic principle of diplomacy is reciprocity. Are these countries reciprocating the goodwill of Nigerians? Are they reciprocating the obligations, the international protocol and treaty obligations of which they owe Nigeria and Nigerian citizens in their own country? And if they don't, I think that it will be good for us to revisit, then do what we call in diplomacy, that is, in the normal language, in the lax language, do me, I do you.
All right, Senator Ita Enang, as you just said, that's reciprocity. Let's take the tweets that have come in from our viewers, quite a number of them. We'll go over them very quickly. Habila Kwara Zakshi tweets. She says, the ejection of Nigerian traders from Ghana is telling our leaders to make an enabling environment where the economy can thrive. Nigerians are known to be business-oriented people, but our laws also need to be reviewed and improved upon.
Just to say that even countries where the economies are super, people still choose to do business outside those countries and do business elsewhere in other countries. You can't take that away. Mike and Yoko, the ejection of Nigerian traders in Ghana is very unfortunate. This is coming from a fellow African and ECOWAS country. As long as the traders did not break any law of the country, the federal government, as a matter of top priority, should take the matter to any level of arbitration.
Dele Jack Solomon tweets, the repatriation of Nigerian petty traders from Ghana would have more negative economic impact on Ghana itself than it would on Nigeria, because the exit of Nigerians from their economy will affect their revenue generation. Again, what is the essence and benefit of ECOWAS to Nigeria?
Sani Michael Omakoji tweets, it says the eviction order to Nigerian traders in Ghana is a clear indication that the objectives of ECOWAS, which is responsible for free movement, is gradually becoming a mere statement of fallacy. Last year, it was xenophobic attacks in South Africa. Today, it's eviction order in Ghana.
Another one from Dele Jack Solomon. It says, this is not the first time Ghana is ejecting Nigerian traders from their country. After all we've done for them during their economic and political turbulence. The implication of the Ghanaian decision will be more on ECOWAS as a whole because it will threaten the regional integration process.
Festus Akimboyewa tweet, he says, if Ghana is ejecting Nigeria from their markets, by implication, they are ejecting Nigerians from their country, and Nigeria should consider ECOWAS dead and pull out of it.
All right, those are the tweets that we are taking. Let's return to the president of the Nigerian Traders Association in Ghana. That's Chukwuemeka Nigeria. Assuming the Ghanaian authorities were to return and say, listen, the eviction order stays, you guys pack and go, what will happen to Nigerian traders there?
Yes, we have called on the government to look into our problem. It's going to be a kind of serious issue to all of us. So many people have lived there for a very long time. Myself, I've been there over 20 years. And we find it difficult to come home. But then, what can you do? We will be coming. But the government shouldn't keep quite eye on us. It should look into our problems and intervene very seriously. It's very, very important they do, because there is many Nigerians living in Ghana, actually.
Give us a sense of the kind of businesses that Nigerian traders are engaged in. Is it that, as Senator Inter said, there is perhaps a sense of, look, the Nigerians are dominating the environment, they are squeezing us out from certain kinds of lines of business?
Okay, I cannot just say that they are in just one particular line of business, but what I can say is that, Nigerians have an aggressive way of doing their business, and they want everybody to feel at home as a customer. The way we attend to our client makes it comfortable for the client to look for us, and that is what Ghanaians don't want. They want to be bossy on everybody. They set, and whatever they call your price, you have to pay. But Nigerians are different. They will negotiate with you and want to actually agree with your own point of view. And I think that is putting pressure on the Ghanaian traders.
All right, thank you very much. Ken Okoha, once again, you raised a number of paradoxes. But how can these issues be resolved? Is diplomacy likely to be effective, considering that it's a recurrent thing? And then, is it not also perhaps an exaggerated analogy to talk about xenophobic attacks, considering, for instance, that small arms and light weapons are readily available in South Africa, and the apartheid legacy has fostered some level of violence in that country, which is not necessarily available or present in Ghana?
Yeah, nobody has actually taken a statistics of how much small arms that you have in Ghana. And therefore, because of the level of insecurity that pervades West Africa, it's very, it's very potential to talk about xenophobic attacks. And of course, as we speak today, as we speak now, the GUTA, the Ghana Union of Traders Association, they are meeting at Sekul, demonstrating strongly against Nigerians. And Kingsley, don't forget that what we're talking about here is that in Ghana, over 40%, in fact 41% of the property business is owned by Nigerians. Number two, about 2.6 million Ghanaians are in Nigeria here doing their businesses. Nobody is disturbing them. Number three, if you look at the passport that I have today, my international passport, and yours, I am sure. At the cover of the passport, what reads there is ECOWAS. Your international passport is ECOWAS. It is only when you open the first page that you see the specific country. So, the law, the ECOWAS Treaty, assumes all of us as ECOWAS citizens, and that's why the treaty says community citizens. And that's where you have, just like Tony Lewin said earlier, you have a right to move freely, you have a right to reside, you have a right to establish. And to that extent, you cannot be just out of your home. It is illegal. Now, what could be done at this point is that, and until that Ghanaian Investment Promotion Act 865, which was reviewed from Act 478, until it is reviewed to the extent that that word, foreigners, for ECOWAS citizens, is expunged completely, An ECOWAS citizen is not a foreigner in Ghana.
I'm wondering, I mean, that's right. If, assuming the Ghanaian authorities say, listen, we're not going to tamper with the provisions of that particular law, then you have the ECOWAS court.
Then there's no ECOWAS.
You have the ECOWAS court. Couldn't this matter, isn't this matter justiciable in the ECOWAS court?
Thank you very much. We have approached the ECOWAS court at a point before, and this is what I forgot to mention. We had approached the ECOWAS court before the president then, Goodluck Jonathan, called and said, look, let's have a diplomatic intervention over this matter. And he sent the ministers, the 3 ministers I mentioned earlier, and they went to Ghana. And then we thought that had calmed nerves. But immediately they returned, we now saw this phase of intimidations and harassments and all of that. And Kingsley, it appears that this happens every time there is an election in Ghana coming up. And they see about 14 million Nigerians that are in Ghana as a threat. A party will come up and, stir up people, and then there will be demonstrations and all of that, and they targeted at Nigerians. And they keep forgetting that Nigerians have investment. Look at about 45% of all the banks in Ghana today are owned by Nigerians, are Nigerian banks. Look at Glo. What are you going to do? And these people are donating employment for the economy. And they appear to forget that. In the education sector, Nigerians, courtesy of the, low turn on our education sector, migrated to Ghana. Secondary school, tertiary institutions, and they are all schooling there. Paying heavily, paying in dollars.
Some of them in porta cabins. We understand.
Exactly.
Okay, well, thanks a lot. Ken Okoa, let's pause you in the meantime and bring in again Senator Ita Enang. Senator Ita Enang, what could possibly be the official disposition towards all of this? I mean, Nigeria and Ghana, when we regard ourselves as neighbors, even though we have 2 countries that are wedged between us, Benin Republic and Togo. And, Nigeria and Ghana, we see ourselves as brothers. But yet, we have these frequent challenges. Is diplomacy failed? Or is it the foundation of ECOWAS that, is bottomed out?
I think it is not. And please let me not take any official position here, because this matter has not been, I would not say Nigeria has taken any official position, and the opinion I express here are purely mine as citizen, as a lawyer, as a legislator. I think that diplomacy has not failed. But I think we have to activate diplomacy at the highest level in this instance. Nigeria has the Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission, and we have laws that protect investment and protect citizens. But these laws has not targeted at any particular country. It is targeted at bringing in investment. What Nigeria also does is that we accept the mobility, that Nigerian citizens are very mobile, they're very active, they are hypersensitive in terms of migration and activism, and commercially productive in many countries. And so we cannot say, look, all Nigerians stay in Nigeria, because no country does that. Yeah. So wherever Nigerians are, we have to take steps to protect those Nigerians in those countries, in those environments. If we say all Nigerians come home, now it will not be good for Nigeria, because these countries, like my brother, the president of a Nigerian community, Nigerian traders in Ghana, has said that they have lived there for many years. Like, you've seen many people of other countries live so much, all their life in Lagos, go to Delta State, go to Bayelsa State, go to the Tagaris. They are all foreign citizens who've lived up to, most of them have lived up to 50, 100 years, their generations. Yeah. So it's like difficult to. So when you get to that, you have to invoke diplomacy at the highest level. I would have said, look, this is bearable if it was that it was just a spontaneous action. But when it is a state institution that is doing it, I think there must be some activation of reciprocity so that we test our powers. Nigerians are more in Ghana than in perhaps Benin Republic, Togo, and others, because it is one of the countries that has its colonial history, like Nigeria, from Britain, while others had from either Portugal or France and so on. And so there is that natural affinity, there's that natural relationship. And it was this that made Nigeria say that when they had problem, we intervened in the spirit of brotherhood. So we will not watch Nigerians suffer anywhere, but we should, as a country, take steps to show that we protect Nigerians wherever they are. And then we protect also their investments. If you think of, like my brother has said, Glo, the telecommunication industry, the finance industry, if we were to withdraw all that, and I know that even funds, the cost of funds in Ghana is cheaper than the cost of funds in Nigeria. So we have to look at the possibility of asking some of these companies apply the same tariffs and rates in those countries, start applying it in Nigeria. And let us see what is it in that country that makes them feel that we are not, we are to be treated that way, and get our people more comfortable. I think it can even improve the economy of Nigeria, and they will now be looking for us. It is time to examine what Britain did. It is time to examine what happened to America, that they now had to...
America first.
Yeah, that they now had to say America first.
Yeah.
What happened to them over Mexico? That they now say, look, we have to build the wall and Mexico will pay for it. Let's look at what happens to many countries, that when it happens like that, you say, we look at our country first. And it would start doing that. I think Nigerians have so much potentials, and they can invest those potentials in Nigeria. And at that time, other countries will now come and invite us. Like we are looking for, well, we are now relating with the East. We're now relating with China. We're now relating with other countries. America and the United Kingdom is now a little envious, and they're treating our investment in those countries. They're treating their citizens in those countries. They're trying to take steps that will protect our investment in those countries so that we don't go fully fully east and still have some investment in those countries. I think Nigeria has to but above all, Nigeria has to use its citizens in the ECOWAS Parliament to raise this issue, and let's take steps legislatively. Nigerian Parliament has to take action in looking at this, to look at if we can amend our laws to say that any country that attacks our citizens and does anything anti-trade practices, that our law will immediately activate that against the citizens of those countries here.
As it concerns those countries, they should consider the ECOWAS protocol suspended.
All right.
All right, Senator Itai, Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters Senate, we'd like to thank you for being part of our discussion this morning.
All right, Kings, I'd like us to take some of the last
tweets. But we'll sign off the guests and then just read out the tweets. We understand that we are pressed for time now. Chukwemeka Levi Nnaji, President, Nigerian Union of Traders Association in Ghana. Thanks a lot for being on Good Morning Nigeria today. Wish you a safe journey back to Accra. Ken Okoha, President, National Association of Nigerian Traders, a guest on Good Morning Nigeria. Thanks a lot for being around.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Rhoda, you still want to take some of those tweets? Yes, very quickly.
The first one is from Annabelle John. It says, I'm glad that NTA GMN is throwing light on this trade issue in Ghana with the ongoing meeting in Lome. I hope an issue like this will be discussed.
Amabola has this tweet, let the Nigerian High Commission in Ghana wade into this. Let there be a roundtable to x-ray what led to what is resulting into such a move. The Ghanaian government should always remember that Nigeria is their big brother.
And Aminu Ubahala Hassan says, many of our industries have relocated to Ghana, hence our traders. We must declare a state of emergency on power. We must fix it for our national growth.
All right, so that does it for that topic for our conversation. We have two others on the elections in Mali and Zimbabwe. That will be after this break.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Why don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie, buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. Really? And to make Nigeria great again, that is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too, huh?
Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, you're welcome back. If you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We are reaching live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, just yesterday, an estimated 8 million voters went to the polls to elect a new president in Mali.
Well, it's generally believed or assumed that the elections was smooth in most parts of the country.
And of course, Mali had been in the news for, if you like, the wrong reasons. It's been racked, ravaged by terrorist activities, especially after the collapse of the Gaddafi regime in Libya. We understand, of course, that the stage was set for the elections and all appears to have gone smoothly, as my colleague Rhoda just indicated.
And not just Mali, Kingsley, also talking about Zimbabwe. Zimbabweans are filing out today to also elect a new leader after Robert Mugabe, of course, resigned late last year.
Yeah, it was pressed into retirement, firmly so. That was in November last year. But we have our correspondent, our foreign affairs correspondent, Makud Simon Macham, who is in Bamako. You can see him join us there via Skype. He will give us an update on what has happened after the voting in Mali yesterday. And that's Makud. Just before we pop our first question to you, let's also indicate that with us here in the Abuja studios, we have Ambassador Akin Fayomi. Ambassador Akin Fayomi, of course, was Nigeria's ambassador to France and Monaco. And in the course of his diplomatic odyssey, he had also served in Zimbabwe in the 1980s. Those were the golden years of Zimbabwe. Ambassador Akin Fayomi, a pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, but let's go over to our correspondent, Makud Simon Macham. Makud, give us a sense, in the aftermath of the voting, what is unfolding in Mali?
Well, good morning. Hours after counting started, Mali can be said to be generally calm. The elections were held throughout the country yesterday, except for some areas in the central region and in the north, that is Mopti and Timbuktu, where reports were received of some form of disruption of voting of the elections by people who had threatened to stop the election. So some, according to the electoral body, some 600 polling units or so could not hold the election. But generally, it was peaceful in many parts of the country, particularly in the capital, where we monitored the election by most part of the day. It was peaceful. The turnout has not, according to the electoral body, surpassed what was previously seen. But then something that is peculiar to the voting here, it's not as if the system is shut down. There's movement, so people come in at whatever time to vote and then go away. So up till about 6 o'clock, 6:30, people were still trying to come and vote, but I think it closed at about 6:30 or so. So the elections, Mali is calm. There's no reported incidents of any violence. That's after the elections. So counting is still ongoing, but then it will take about 2 days or so to get a sense of who really is winning this election. So it's calm, so to say, now.
I was going to ask you also too, from your interactions with the voters, what are the key issues that Malians want to address with this election?
Very well. The major issue is security. Like Kingsley said earlier, Mali has been in the news for wrong reasons. The security is a very serious issue here. Indeed, yesterday throughout the city of Bamako and indeed in many parts of the country, there was heavy security presence at every polling unit, and not just the polling units, but the city as a whole. So most part of the country, so that's the issue. So the issue of security, being that there's insurgency and so much happening, particularly in some in the northern part and in some other areas also, the people are concerned that this issue has to be tackled. Indeed, some voted the current president on that basis. Others feel he has performed. Others feel otherwise. So yesterday was the day to decide really what was the issue. And then secondly, the issue of corruption. That is also an issue that these people feel it should be tackled by any of those candidates, 24 candidates that would emerge. So the present government has been given a first term of 5 years, and so once the results are out, we'll know whether they have been judged right, positive or otherwise. Then the issue of unemployment is very high, and then some high level of poverty also. So those are key issues that the electorate we're looking forward to having them addressed as they voted.
What is the Electoral Commission's disposition to the reports, including one that we just confirmed now, that voting was disrupted in some locations, in particular Timbuktu?
Well, I think the electoral body, or generally before the elections were conducted, one would say such incidences could have been anticipated. And so perhaps they tried their best, the government tried its best to put in security to ensure that those disruptions did not happen. So probably these areas would have to reconduct those elections because 600 polling units right now, I can't put a population to it, but I think that's substantial. So we hope to hear from them perhaps today what really they intend to do with those areas. But I guess the candidates also who have been raising issues with the electoral body, some were accusing the electoral body of using the wrong voter register, and some even say that there were fake names and so on. So they have to sort out this in order to ensure that the election is acceptable to these candidates that are vying for various offices.
Makut, earlier you said that there was no lockdown on the cost of voting. But of course, from our experience in Nigeria, you know that voting day is a lockdown day. What is the magic, if one may so describe it, that the Malians have used in ensuring that people go about their normal businesses and simply cast their votes and then wait for the votes to be counted?
Well, to be frank with you, there's this sense of low tension, so to say. You know, you don't even feel that there's any serious thing happening, in the sense that everyone is just looking forward to go and vote. You know, you don't hear of such desperation maybe by the candidates or anything. It's a bit free. People are not excited about either thuggery or fighting anybody or killing anybody for their candidates or so. They're just there waiting to go and vote. You know, when you go to even to the polling units, we saw some of them, you know, just waiting for their turns without any agitation, so to say. So this, I don't know. I think the attitude here is that just vote and go, and people vote and are not there to, you know, crowd and begin to chant any views or anything, you know. So it's calm. I don't know what they're missing by not locking down the city, but people were still coming. Like I said, even up to the closing of voting, people were still coming in. Perhaps the disadvantage could be that the reported low voter turnout may be as a result of the fact that people can go about their business before they come and vote. So some may even miss even when they intended to vote. But then there's no high tension or drama that you normally would see back in Nigeria.
So thank you very much, Makut Simon Macham. We'll continue to get back to you, of course, in the course of the day for an update on what's going on in Mali. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, our correspondent, Makut Simon Macham from Bamako in Mali, where the elections, people have just voted, results are being counted, and a couple of days we expect that the results will be out. Earlier on, we introduced Ambassador Akin Fayemi. Ambassador, I would like to take you from where Kingsley stopped with Makut now. It appears that with a country like that that's dealing with security challenges, it has not hampered the election, it has not hampered campaigns. What is it they're doing or they got right?
Yeah, I think he didn't say he didn't hamper the campaign. It depends on where you are. Okay. He's in Bamako. Bamako is in safe hands. It's in the ruling government's hands. But if you go up north to Timbuktu or to Gao, there is a lot of harassment, bombings, and intimidations and all that, in spite of all the security forces that are massed in the northern and central part of Mali. So it's not been a success story, so to say. A lot of low voter turnout. People are scared. They didn't go out to vote. That's the key reason why there was no lockdown. The majority of the people there, in spite of, I'm sure you know, the French have a base there, about 4,000 Frenchmen are there. They're also a G5 force comprising of Mali, Mauritania, Niger, Chad, another 4,000. And the UN also has about 25,000 people there. It's one of the most terrible peacekeeping area that the UN has ever been into Mali. So the voting that he's talking about is in Bamako.
So are you saying that because the election so far, from some commentators, is that at least it's been a bit successful? Are you saying that it's not been a success? If you look at the percentage,
if you look at it holistically, the whole country, it's not. You find that the majority of people that went to vote are very, very. The figure is lower than what is even expected. We're expecting about 7 or 8 million. What they've had so far. The counting is not finished, but from all indications, they are not going to get up to 50% of that.
What does this mean going forward for the effective governance of the country by the government in power in Bamako?
Like Makut said, we have to wait and see whether this government will have another 5-year mandate. People are judging them on the past experience, and it's not a good story. That's why they have a lot of insecurity, a lot of unemployment, corruption, all these factors that he mentioned in his briefing. So that's why it's close to call. The administration doesn't have the good rapport of the people because it has not been able to solve what they thought would have been solved in the 5 years. So for him to have another 5-year mandate, we have to go wait and see. Mr. Sise, who is his main challenger, was also his main challenger 5 years ago. And people are thinking that, look, if this guy can't give us security in 5 years, what that means in the next 5 years, he will not even be more concerned. So we don't know whether Mr. Keita will have a chance in this election or not. So we just have to wait.
And down south in Zimbabwe, the main challenger to the incumbent ruling party, that's ZANU-PF, headed by Emmerson Mnangagwa, we are also having their elections, presidential elections today. What is the outlook? Yesterday we saw what former President Robert Mugabe was saying on television. Some described it, of course, as a malicious press conference.
Well, I won't, let's start from Mugabe. I won't say it was malicious. The old man was just venting out his frustrations, and you don't expect him to cozy up to people that he said forced him out of office. So I watched the interview, and he made sense. I mean, even though ZANU-PF is his party, he built it, and then for him now not to vote ZANU-PF, that's something that nobody will ever think will happen. But of course, ZANU-PF is now headed by Mnangagwa, whom he thought to use the military to push him out of office. So he didn't really say he was going to vote for Nelson Chimasa's MDC. He just said that he has never met the young man, and if he wins, he would like to meet him, and that he hopes that today's election, people will go out and vote, and that it will bring in, usher in wonderful news for Zimbabwe. So I also believe in that, and I know that it's also very close to call. Chimasa is going to give Mnangagwa a run for his money. People are not so happy, even though it's post-Mugabe. People think that Mnangagwa is one of the old guards, which you yourself know, Kingsley, you were in Southern Africa at that time too. He's been Minister of Security, Minister of Justice, Speaker of the Parliament, everything. So why should we be 75 years old? People are looking up. Chimasa is only 40, and with the Macron wave and Trudeau wave in Canada and all that. So people are also looking at that we need that change, and many people are thinking that it can start in Zimbabwe, and that would be good. It would bode well for not only Southern Africa, but for the continent.
Well, but Zimbabwe, I mean, some analysts are saying it's unlikely to get it right on its own. And in the 8 months or so since Mnangagwa has been president, is causing up to the West, in particular to Britain and other development partners. And some are arguing that you need that kind of leverage to bring Zimbabwe back on the path of growth and development, rather than, of course, getting on with Chimasa, who's probably, of course, much younger. And some people have drawn an analogy between what might happen with the MDC and what we are seeing with the economic freedom fighters in South Africa. Is this analogy reasonable?
Yes, it is. Your first point, Mr. Mnangagwa had no choice than to cozy up to the West. We all know how Zimbabwe was when Mugabe was there. The economy was zero, had the worst inflation, over 20,000 or something %. I've never heard of that before. Cash was, you can't even find cash in the banks. Even up till now, there is a daily cash limit of about $2 or $20 that you can queue up to get your own money and all that. So he needed that investment to come in. It can only come in from the West. And of course, Britain being the former colonial, that's probably the attraction, and then he wants to get back into the Commonwealth of Nations, which Mugabe, from which Zimbabwe was expelled during Mugabe's time. So he needs all that to inject funds and investment to the economy. And then you know that the old cliche that says that the devil you know is better than So they would rather work with Mnangagwa, even though, like I said earlier, being part of the old guard, he knows all this, and he's trying to smoothen the relations, promising the whites their land, back. Not that he says there's no white farmer, no black farmer. There is just a Zimbabwean farmer. So this issue of coloring the farms should not arise and all that. So he's trying to woo the West. And if Chamisa, if they don't win, yes, there is nothing wrong in having something like the EFF. That will give it a vibrant opposition. Don't forget that Zimbabwe also runs a parliamentary system. So that would be something that will ginger up the political space, and I think that bodes well also for Zimbabwe's health.
All right, thank you very much, Ambassador Akin Fayemi, former Nigerian ambassador to France and Monaco, former Under Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's always a pleasure to have you in our studios to discuss issues on the foreign scene like this. Thank you so much.
A pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right, now to our complimentary segments. First is Sports Update.
Tottenham